Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are about to start our last match of the evening. It is once again BK, and he will be playing Tom Metelsky. We do have Flint and Rich back in the booth. I'm just going to help introduce the decks, and then I will be out of here and let them work their magic. So let's take a quick look at the decks that were available to the players. BK brought this Girl, The Rock, and Counter Parfait. This Girl was banned. And then for Tom, the mono blue Stifle Knot, Landstill, and Sly. And his Landstill deck was banned. So that leaves us with BK has selected. Oh, let me get it up. I had the wrong image up. He is playing Counter Parfait. So Rich, do you want to talk about a little bit about this deck and then maybe what BK's list is different of kind of what you've played?
Sure, sure. Um, oh, wait, sorry. Oh, I have to mute the two players, right?
Yes, the players should be muted. They also should have us muted. So,
All right. Sorry, it was a little hard to hear. I've muted the players now.
okay.
Um, so happy to talk about either deck. Which deck?
The count. Oh, excuse me. The counter parfait deck.
Yeah, so Parfait is a great deck with a really clean, consistent mana base. But if you don't like having that kind of mana base, you can add Counterspell to it. And um that's the story of Counter Parfait. So realistically, Counterspell solves the problem of what happens when a bad thing is cast. But that's what Zer's Weirding's for. If you don't let your opponent draw the spell in the first place, you don't need to worry about trying to counter it, right?
So you're not quite sold on the counter version. You think that the other one had the tools to kind of deal with most of the things. It just was yours reading.
I think so. When I think about the kind of matches that I'm afraid of with Parfait, I'm afraid of very fast combo, but Counterspell is often too slow for, say, a Hermit deck anyway. And then um that that I think is and then the slow control decks, but against the slow control decks, they're gonna win the counter war anyway.
Okay. We will see in action. He will be up against the mono blue Stifle Knot. So we've seen different versions of Stifle Knot. This one is opting just to stay blue. The core cards, I mean, Stifle and Vision Charm are blue anyways. But I guess what this gains is uh, more consistent to have Gush, or you can run less lands. I guess what are your take on Flint? What is your take on the appeal of playing a mono blue Stifle Knot as compared to playing a second color?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Hoip. In my opinion, the advantage of this mono blue version over the two color versions is one, the consistent mana base, but two, it lets you protect your dreadnought with cards that are free. So it runs the full 4 days, the full four foil, and then you have your standard counter spells. So instead of trying to duress and clear the way, or try to grind someone out with a red or a green splash, it just goes all blue and says, "Hey, I'm going to take maybe one or two turns to set up a little bit more, but I'm going to land a dreadnought, and I'm going to have a bunch of free spells to back it up, and I get to really take advantage of Gush with all of these islands." So it can do some powerful things. It's not quite as explosive as, say, the Lotus Petal versions, but it's pretty consistent. And Tom's a very good Gush player, I would say. And I talked with him about this deck, and it has very good matchups against a lot of other decks, except for Sly. Sly and really fast aggro can eat it alive, and that's his worst matchup. So I think he's probably happy to run it up against BK. But we'll see how these counter wars pan out in this match. I'll be really curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this. I think that the one of the things you get from playing the blue version is you get a really good draw engine, but Parfait can really also have a very strong draw engine. So, if only one of these two decks manages to get online, that deck's going to win, and Gush versus Lantax is going to be a really interesting fight.
Absolutely.
All right, I am just getting a few things set up, and then I think we can let the players know that they can begin. So, Chat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit tight and be quiet. I'm going to let Flint and Rich commentate on this match. So I'll be here updating a few things, and I'll be here in chat, but you won't be hearing from me. So enjoy and have fun, you two.
All right,
All
we
right.
will. I'm going to message the players.
Good idea.
All right, here we are. So chat, chime in. Who's favored here? What do folks think? Who do you think's favored, Rich?
I have to give it to the Parfait deck, but I think both decks here are very. I honestly think both decks here are very solid and respectable.
All right, well then I'm on Team Metelsky then, so we have a little clash ourselves in the commentating booth.
You can't discount the fact that Metelsky is a great player, but BK is as well.
Indeed. And he's living the dream.
Oh man, there it is. Land tax.
Will we see a fail to find?
That is one of the nice things about fetch lands. They let you have an optional land drop that you can turn into a null if you want.
It's one of the things I
So
always liked about playing the Terragon list too with Wasteland. You can Wasteland targeting itself to get rid of it.
yes, true. So if Tom didn't play a land, BK could have popped it and failed to find, but because Tom did play a land, BK doesn't need to. So right away, BK has gotten his engine online before Tom.
He's got
So
his
this is
ancestral recall going.
yeah. This is gonna put Tom in a really awkward position where he's going to lose the card advantage war at this rate, and that's gonna push him into trying to be the aggro deck. But BK also has a lot of tools to handle the Dreadnought. And this mono blue build is a lot more all in on Dreadnought than the version that I played against earlier, where you still have Fling and Lavamancer and Burn.
Mhm. Fling and Lava Mancer and Burn? Oh my.
Yeah, exactly.
So we see the
Wow.
tutor. What is he going for? Scroll rack here, you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get land tax going, if you get a scroll rack working too, then every turn you take 3 basics out of your deck and you turn them into more cards. So you are actually ancestraling every turn. And the components of this contraption are 1 mana and then 2 mana. So Tom really wants to have a counter for this.
I think we're probably going to see a daze here if he just goes for it. Probably a hard cast daze. Maybe?
If he doesn't have the days, then that's very bad for Tom.
Slow rolling it?
Well, so from BK's perspective, one of the reasons that you would find it and just shove it onto the table here is if BK doesn't have anything else, he does have the days, okay. If BK doesn't have an answer to a Dreadnought, then this would be a way to dig for an answer to whatever it is that Tom is doing. So he's sort of making Tom have not only the Dreadnought combo, but also the counter for
Yeah.
this. So he's effectively asking Tom more questions and seeing if Tom has the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if he's just land taxing, right, over and over again, it's great to get those lands, but if he doesn't have a way to trade those cards, it's less powerful. And just like you said, I think that scroll rack has to be answered because if it's not, then he has to come up with a lot more answers down the line.
Right, right. And even if you think that BK threw his Enlightened Tutor right into a daze, he still picked up an extra 3 cards that turn.
Oh, speaking of tutors, my favorite card in pre-modern.
Enlightened Tutor?
It is my favorite in pre-modern. Yep.
It's a great card.
It just allows so many 8 ofs in combo decks, you know?
I find it a little strange that Mystical Tutor's banned, but Enlightened Tutor
I
isn't.
know. I know. We've had this conversation a lot online and in forums, and in some ways, Enlightened Tutor is probably better. But I feel like there's those maybe those fringe scenarios where Mystical Tutor is just going to do some broken
What do you
things.
even
But
get with it? I mean, it's not like you can't get Tendrils, so and you can't get Entomb.
you could in the Storm decks, you could get cards that you need for Mono Blue Storm. That's probably
Yeah,
like a
but
2.11 card deck.
is there a good deck you can put it in?
It would be good in Replenish, I would say. I think
Okay,
Replenish decks
Replenish is good.
might run
Replenish is
it.
good, yeah,
It's better than an
that's true.
Intuition in some circumstances to just end a turn, get the Replenish on top of your deck, and not lose the other
I
2.
agree.
I think
I agree.
Devour would run it too. Devour to get a Fling would be really big,
Okay, yeah.
or they could even tutor to get a Tinker to win as
Hmm,
well. So I think it might smooth out the consistency of that deck too. But
that's probably true. That's true. That's alright. Yeah.
all right, well, here, what are we looking at? We're
Oh,
looking at
there's a Dreadnought.
Intuition for the Dreadnought.
Intuition's rough here because it means that if this one fails, you've thrown 3 of them away, not just 1.
Yep. And that's something that just to go back to Mystical Tutor, it's something that the Devour deck struggle with because they have to run Rushing River, but they
Hmm,
for an answer, and to find it, they have to Intuition to get the Rushing River, and so at
yeah,
that point, they burn so many cards that if that Rushing River doesn't work, they're just in huge trouble.
that's true, that's true. I actually prefer the 5-color Oath version of that deck with Enlightened Tutor.
Of Devour,
Mhm.
I've play tested it a little bit. It is much more powerful on the front end of things, but I feel like it's a little more glass cannon-esque than the just standard red blue version. But I don't know how much what your experience has been.
I mean, it's a combo deck, and it plays like a combo deck, and it doesn't try to be something other than a combo deck. I like the fact that you can bring in Duress. I think Duress is one of the best cards in the format.
I like to run Ray of Revelation in it too. The fact that you
Yes,
can run
you
Ray
can
of Revelation is
definitely
huge. I love that card.
yeah, yeah, Ray is great.
I think after you sideboard, like so if someone's not going to let you get away with oathing, right? Basically, you
Right.
sideboard your oaths out, and then you probably have more of a control deck. In some ways, like a combo control that you don't have with the red blue version. Um,
Yeah, the red blue version tries to do that with welders, but welders are incredibly fragile.
so I've heard. Poor little guys. They're just trying to weld, do their job.
I know, I
Ah,
know. It's tough to be a goblin these days.
they get no respect.
I know, you try to do your job and you get lava darted and
So we do see some end of turn impulse action here from Metelsky. You're really just trying to sculpt that hand. He doesn't know what BK's up to over there, but has to assume some number of interaction, swords, counter magic, for open mana.
Tom has cleverly been using Gush to keep BK from taxing, and that's really good.
Yep,
Um, all right,
here we go.
here comes Dreadnought, and ooh, is
Perhaps a
BK
mana
gonna
leak.
make me feel dumb about saying bad things about Counterspell? Because he could, right? Counterspell could be incredibly good right here, and you know, then I'll look like a clown saying that I don't think Counterspell fits. I could be wrong. I've never tested the Counterspell build, so it might well be that the mana works better than it looks like it would on paper.
Yeah, I was talking to Mike Hoip about this, and I think this BK deck might be some version of the deck that Sam Black ran at the Misty Mountain tournament that they did. I don't know if it's an exact card for card list, but
Uh,
I think it's based on that. I,
okay.
I didn't see Sam Black's deck.
I think I saw him play in I think I was watching a stream of that event.
Yeah, I was watching the stream too. I saw a little bit of it, but I don't know if I saw Sam's
Yeah. Hey,
Sam's full 60.
a dog just wandered
Oh yeah,
around in the
that was
background.
early the dog. Yeah.
Hey, early.
Yeah. There's another one asleep over here, Rusty. But
Oh,
anyway.
nice.
All right. So what do we got? All right. So we
Eight
have
of swords.
words.
Is that a reality ripple?
Yeah, the deck runs one reality ripple.
Oh
Pretty
man.
cool,
All
right?
right. All right. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good eye.
Man,
S-
reality ripple is a great reason to play mono blue.
I built it actually. I've been goldfishing it a little bit. I want to play test a little bit more. But it's a fun deck to play. The mono blue version is fun.
Where I am with it is I feel like the black splash is so close to free. Because you play 1 swamp, 4 fetches, and then the 2 rivers, and you get duress out of it, which is huge.
Dress is huge. Um,
Duress is almost certainly better than whatever last 4 cards Tom has. Ooh, Wrath of God. But wait a minute. Now that won't help because it's reality rippled out, right?
Yeah, I think he played it and then was just like, "Wait, oops, my bad."
Man,
So spirit of pre-modern here, right? Like, letting him take it back.
there is there's a scroll rack. That's a card.
So we've heard. Is Parfait your favorite scroll rack deck? Your favorite tax rack deck, or do you have
Oh yeah.
another from Magic's past that you like or present?
No, I honestly, Parfait is the most fun deck I've played since the early 2000s. I don't think I've enjoyed anything this much since Control Slaver in like the early 2000s, where you'd use Goblin Welder to bring back Mind Slaver
Oh
and
man,
take
I
your
love
opponent's
Mindslaver.
farm. I think that was the most fun Magic deck I've ever played in my life, but Parfait is really fun too.
So we we do see a swords, and it looks like it was successful. So we have 3 dreadnoughts down, 1 to
Yeah,
go.
and that's the problem with intuition.
Yeah, this is a tough spot for Tom now because he now needs to take the time to reassemble the combo and the protection
Yeah,
while Brian has, you know, he has the engine, but he doesn't, I guess, because of the lands. But he's one Enlightened Tutor away from a Zuran Orb
yeah,
to
and I
start
think
to,
that'll be lights out.
yeah.
And the mono blue version is so all in on Dreadnought that I don't really, he's got one left in the deck. The Black Splash also lets you play Limdul's Vault instead of Intuition.
Yep, yep. It's 4 vaults, 4 duress.
And
Some run 2 Mesmeric Fiend even.
it's
Some
not
lists that I've
unreasonable.
seen.
Is
But you're
that a
right on the
Sunlight
mana base.
script? Or is that an Aura of Silence?
That is an Aura of
Oh,
Silence.
that's probably game right there.
Yeah, that's gonna make it especially tough.
So now the combo will cost 3 or 4 mana, and Tom, I guess, at least 4 mana. And then Tom also needs to have a second way to save the Dreadnought, so 5 mana at a bare minimum. And it looks like he's scooping to that.
Open it up. Yep. So I'm gonna let them know to go ahead and sideboard, and they can start the next game when ready, since we're a little behind. So how do things change after sideboard here, Rich?
Can we bring the decks up on screen?
Yeah, I think Hoyp was doing that right
Okay,
now.
that's
All right, so there's
technology.
counter
Alright.
parfait.
So Counter Parfait, man, there's so many things that I really like about this deck. I maybe I'm being too harsh on the mana. So you gotta love those 4 copies of a Null. That's huge. And that only takes 1 blue instead of 2. So I actually like that better than Counterspell. Um, so yeah, now you get those, you just bring in 4 more really hard answers.
Yeah, those are solid. Obviously the blast don't come in. The ray doesn't need to come in. The plague, the web, the wrath. I mean, maybe you could make an argument for wrath if things go awry.
I
Is
could
there a
see
world where
it,
Sylvan
but
comes in?
I don't love Sylvan here. I mean, so what I mean, then what do you cut? You'd probably cut the Ivory Tower, the Furnace. Um, I'm not sure you'd need Blessing, and what are those other blue cards down there? Those foils?
Um, yeah, he's got 3 foils, 3
So
impulses, and
intense.
3 counter spells in the main deck.
Yeah, alright. So, I'm not even sure what else you cut. I think you can maybe cut 1 Enlightened Tutor because Vision Charm is embarrassing if you get hit with that after an Enlightened Tutor. The Furnace, the Tower, and 1 of the Blessings, and you can bring in 4 Annuls. And I think that's it.
Makes sense to me. Let's kick it over to the mono blue stifle nut list. Wait, if you have it.
Man, what an awesome list.
All right.
Um, Nullrod is probably solid. Boomerang might be necessary, and also 4 Annuls.
I'm digging the annuls and the null rods.
But what do you cut?
Good question.
That's so tough. The stifles are gonna have some value. Vision Charm counters Enlightened Tutor. I don't know if you can make the mana base work if you cut some of the cantrips, but that might be what you have to cut.
That was my worry as well, right? This deck runs what, 1 to 17 islands, and
Yeah,
that's it, and it relies on the cantrips. I think the null rods have to come in. I think those are mandatory.
yeah,
Would
I
you
agree.
do you bring those in and all 4 annuls,
How do you
or
not? If you're gonna put those 4 nulls in your sideboard, if you're gonna have them in your sideboard, you have to bring them all in here, right?
I think so.
Oh, what ho OS card ape crashing in
Hey.
from the realms of old school with a 6 raiding party, which I think lets you sacrifice an orc to destroy planes.
It's a classic, Ice Age card, I believe. Is that right? Or was
Fallen
that in
Empires.
Alliances? That was Fallen Empires. Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah, which is a perfect old school card for OS card ape. It's got OS right in the name, right?
Absolutely. Man, Raiding Party, that is a deep cut.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Um, I really don't know what you're supposed to cut with this because yeah. Well, if nothing else, this stream is reminding me that I need a haircut, so that's good.
I got a haircut last year finally. So before we got to meet, I had much longer hair, and then I finally cut it all off.
Oh yeah, I actually grew up my hair pretty long during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think a lot of us did.
I've
I
never
met
had
yet.
it like my hair grows up and then crashes under its own weight.
Oh man, we're gonna have to see photos at some point. Um, Mine was more like an old man trying to relive the glory of the '80s,
Oh man, that
despite
is
his
cool.
receding hairline. But it was pretty sweet. I think I made Jens Jaeger weep in person when he saw that I'd cut my hair.
Well, I found this good barber shop in town. I've been going there and seeing myself on camera. Looks like I have to pay them another visit.
It is time.
Man, Tom's got an awesome playmat.
Yeah, I really like that Coastal Tower. My favorite, my 2 favorite playmats are Lake of the Dead, which is the one I took to LobsterCon, and
Yeah,
I
it's
have a
great.
Tabernacle playmat that I really like as well.
Can't argue with either of those.
What are your
Um,
go-tos?
I really like the Jesper Myrfor's ATOG playmat. It's a little
Shocking.
ATOG. What's that?
I said shocking,
Yeah,
shocking.
right. I know. Um, and I was using Stone Throwing Devils for a while to make a statement, and then I've been using the Mox Diamond ones because I think they are. Well, I've been playing a lot of Mox Diamonds lately.
Makes sense. And it's beautiful artwork. I really like
Yeah,
the Mux Diamond artwork.
yeah, it's a really well done card.
So it looks as though BK is taking a mulligan here. Easy with those cards, BK. All right, he's pulling him back a little bit.
So there are certainly hands where if Tom has the annul for Brian's first land tax, then it sort of collapses for Brian.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to imagine there's going to be a counter because I think if you're Tom, do you have to basically keep either a hand that can answer a turn one land tax or a hand that has a turn two dreadnought? I think you're kind of only keeping one of those two types of hands.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you have to respect it. And like I mentioned earlier with the Thawing Glaciers example, playing a turn one Thawing Glaciers is just bad on so many levels because you really have to be able to interact in the first 3 turns of the format, I would
Yeah.
say. So I think Brian has to respect that with Tom, even though Tom's list is less explosive than a traditional Dreadnought list.
There's something I like. There's so much I like about blue and counter parfait. I still don't think it's worth it, but no, I'm seeing it in action and getting to run cards like Impulse. I respect it.
Uh-oh. We may see Rich Shay on some counter parfait in a future monthly. Only time will tell, folks. Stay tuned.
Only time will tell. The more I'm seeing it, the more I'm liking it.
All right, so we have the Enlightened Tutor. There's the tax, one of life's inevitabilities or certainties. What's the quote? Death and taxes.
Right, death and taxes.
Um,
Those are the two things that are known in other parlance to be deterministic. I think both players come with respectable choices for playing for basic lands here. You get it's like an FBB Plains from Brian and Thunder Island, which is always nice.
yeah,
And
there's a
then
saga.
yeah, great picture. And then Tom has the joke set island, which is perfect because the whole stifle knot thing is kind of a joke. Ooh, it looks like Tom had to discard there
You had
though.
to discard a counter spell. Yeah.
So
This,
this is the difficulty. The the cantrip engine is part of the mana base. Wow. So now Kowal can play land tax playing around days, and that's really, really rough for Tom.
yep. Oh my God, discarding boomerang. So this is as you said, it's as bad. I mean, this is going to give BK the time he needs to set up.
Yeah, Tom
We
just
have
missing land
Mox.
drops and going to discard. That's I don't know how Tom can possibly get out of this. I mean, it's not going to be fun.
Oh, a blessing here. Interesting. I thought we might see a scroll rack, but nope. So
Every turn that goes by that involves Tom drawing and discarding is so good for BK here.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, uh, Andy Culpepper, friend of the stream and friend of the pre-modern community, and one of my OG uh, heroes in pre-modern deck building, does make a good point here. Uh, BK can't tax here at least, so he doesn't have that going for him.
True. That's very true. But who needs to tax when your opponent's just sort of dropping cards into the graveyard?
Fair enough. So while BK develops and Tom discards, uh, we're talking about these islands here, right? We have the unglued one and we have the Urzasaga one. Do you have a favorite basic island?
I do. My favorite basic islands are beta basic islands with Foratogs drawn on them.
The ones that you were playing earlier?
Yes.
Yeah. All
Yes.
right. All right.
So I
Excellent.
have this thing where I like ATOGs. I know, big surprise. And so I really enjoy if an artist has drawn an ATOG and done a basic, I really like having the artist draw his ATOG on his basic. So Plains from Jesper, Islands from Mark Poole with Foratog. I have some APAC lands where Ed Beard has drawn uh, a Psychotog,
Cool.
and then Jeff Miracola did this really nice mountain, so he can draw Oratog on it.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
So I know that's kind of a different answer because it's very specific, but um, I don't have a specific favorite island. I think you can make a reasonable case for four of the different basics for what the best basic land is. The best mountain is obviously the Arabian Nights mountain. There's no other answer that even begins to make sense. But for the other four basics, there are a number of things that you can make for a very fair for a fair argument about it.
I just love the conviction that all Magic players have when you ask them questions about their favorite of something, and basic lands is absolutely one of the more widely discussed topic, given how relevant basic lands are to this format compared to other formats. So
Absolutely, and
it's a legitimate question.
I think that you cannot go wrong with any old frame basic land. This is where I'll disagree with Mano earlier, who expressed his disapprobation for revised basic. Revised is fine. There's nothing wrong with a revised. Revised is a button-down shirt, a pair of shorts, and sandals. It's fine. You know,
Yep.
it's standard, it's classic. Beta is putting on a nice suit, putting on a tie. You know, it's formal but pretty reasonable. Um, but I think revised is fine, you know? In my parfait build, I'm playing all alternate 4th edition. It's just sort of the theme of the deck. How about you, Flint? What's your favorite island?
My favorite island of all time is the Arena Island with the sea monster.
Oh, great choice. Yeah.
Um, I was playing in the Arena League way back in the day, and I loved those lands so much, and I, only had a handful of them at the time because I did okay in those leagues, but, would usually get, top 3 or something and get something out of it or try to trade for them. And I remember I had a plains and I had a forest, but I didn't have an island for a number of years, and I finally was able to get some down the road, and I just love the sea monster. I love how it's dead in the swamp. There's, like, the dead sea monster. Um, and then other than that, I've talked about this on podcasts before, but I just love the Mirage Lands so much. I
Those
love
are
that
great.
set. I love
Classic.
I love the flavor of the set. I love the colors of the set.
Yeah,
I love all of the artwork in that set,
I
and
agree.
I
That is
love
the
them.
most flavorful block ever.
Yeah, I just love them. And
I
I love like the Sunset one is great, but I love the other islands too. And
Yeah, they're all awesome. You
the,
really cannot go wrong with basic land from Mirage.
the Sunset Mountain is great, but I actually
Yeah.
play the green one. I would say even more often because a lot of people don't play it, and it has the goblin face in it. And I love the mist, over the green, the really verdant mountains, and I don't know. And even the purple ones are just so bizarre. I could go on and on, but I love the flavor of that set. So
Yeah.
Mirage, Mirage all day.
While I give Arabian Nights my favorite set, my favorite block is Mirage.
Ah,
It's
excellent.
just a flavor home run.
I know that we're not talking about the game quite as much here, Rich, and chat as well. There's just not a
Nope,
lot going on,
nope.
unfortunately, right? It's
I
just
mean, what are we supposed to say? Hey, do you think Tom will draw a card and then discard? Or maybe he'll draw a land and play something.
uh,
Unfortunately, this is the one downside of a deck like Parfait is that if BK were on Sly, this game would have been over 3 weeks ago. But because BK is on this glacial deck, he can't really close out the game despite the fact that Tom is doing nothing, right?
Yep.
Even The Rock would have won by now, probably.
Yeah, it's very true. He's got to take his time here, and I would imagine that if this starts to get just a little bit more out of hand, we see an Aura of Silence land, we see a Zuran Orb land. Tom may just scoop at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a good chance that if this were in testing, Tom would have scooped already, but, this is the last match of the night, and Tom's, he's down a game, and this cannot be how he was hoping this would go.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Okay. We get to dig one deeper. All right.
must be a land, right?
I would assume so if it's going to his hand, or maybe it's a foil. Oh, I mean, it's probably not even a foil, right? I mean, foil is just so
I think
bad
you just
here
shove
because he doesn't
anything
have
to the
any.
bottom that's not a land.
Maybe it's a gush.
Nope, it's an
It
island.
looked like it was an island.
So
Yeah. So in classic um, advantage bar speak, what do you think the advantage bar is right now? What are the percentages?
uh, Tom's hoping that BK's house has a power failure. Um,
I don't think there are any going to be any natural disasters, at least in Wisconsin.
eh, if BK somehow doesn't win this, then I'll be astounded. Maybe Tom's hoping that it's getting late for BK, so he'll just decide to stop and take a rest. But short of that, this is not deterministic, but it's really favorable for Tom.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is
really favorable for BK, very unfavorable for Tom.
uh, hey Fire
I'm
Baby
just
6.
saying someone that
Yeah, we
Brian
mentioned it
putting his hand on
earlier.
camera.
I think Hoyt's still there. He's still putting cards in the card display or the card fetcher or whatever for folks to look at. I don't know if you caught it, Rich, but he had a nice array of ATOGs while you were talking about your various lands. He was putting up the
I
different
missed
ATOGs.
it. Really? Oh, that's I I wish Psychotog were just a slightly better deck. I've tried it and it's just not great, sadly. A sleeping potion, that's hilarious.
Hoyp
It's
is
so
still
funny.
in the building. I repeat, he's still in the building.
So if you were gonna play an ATOG and it weren't Psychotog, what would you play if you had to?
I would feel like I'd do something like combo-y with one. So I would probably run an Oratog and an Enchantress list, or I'd run a Chronotog and a Stasis list, or something like that is probably what I would do with one. Um,
I like that. Yeah.
you could put an Oratog. I think Andrew Walker had an Oratog and an Enchantress list where he was playing Rancor and he was using it over and over and over again to draw cards and also like buff up his Oratog. Um,
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah. I wish that Thaumatog were a better Magic card because there are decks that have lands and enchantments, but Thaumatog, as much as I love it, it's just not that good.
I think my favorite ATOG deck of all time. Oh, nice. Very nice. I think my favorite ATOG deck of all time is actually not Psychotog. It's
There.
Necrotog.
Necrotog? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, see, I have that one as well.
All right.
If
Oh, there he is. Love him.
if I
So
can
cute.
find a deck for Necrotog, man, I would love to play Necrotog. I played him back in the 90s.
Did you
You
play
play
the
an ATOG
Illusionist?
and then I played ATOG, Necrotog, and then you can play Phyrexian Walker or an Ornithopter for +2/+2 and +2/+2. That's
Ah,
value.
that is value. I like it. I um I ran the Tombstone Stairwell Cephalid Illusionist combo
Oh,
where you milled
nice.
or no, or it was Urtai's Familiar is what it was way back in the day. So you use Urtai's Familiar to mill your own deck, and then you could play a Tombstone Stairwell, and then you could play
Mhm.
Necrotog as well, and you could attack in, and you could sack the zombies to the Necrotog. It was a cool deck.
That's awesome.
It was a sweet deck.
Yeah, I think that we need to ban everything until Necrotog is good again, and then ban Necrotog.
Make
That's
Necrotog great again.
that's how the old saying goes, right?
That's right. We will burn Premodern to the ground if we have
To
to make
play
Necrotog great.
Necrotog,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Alright, so, we did see some impulses from Tom. He's run out 4 lands now, which has allowed, BK to start taxing again. So, um this
Well, so that's the Skyla and Charybdis of making your land drops. You get to stop discarding, which is good, but then your opponent gets to grab an extra 6 cards a turn. Wow.
oof.
So where would you put the advantage bar at this point?
I think it's probably 9505.
Yeah, I think at this point in a scientific publication, we could say that BK is already won because it's over 5%. I think P is less than 0.05.
Yeah, I think if we were to run this match 10,000 times from this exact point, yeah, probably be about 9505. All right.
And every turn that passes gets increasingly worse for Tom. So it's like if Tom doesn't act, he's drawing a mere 1 card a turn, whereas BK basically gets to pick up his deck, put whatever cards from it he wants into his hand, and then put the rest back, as far as I can tell at this point. And I will say, this is where the fact that BK has counters means that there's even less of a chance of Tom crawling out from around this somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, he just has so many levels to interact with Tom on, right? He can do it from the start with a counter spell. But even if Tom manages to land a dreadnought, he can still interact with sills, with auras, and with swords.
Yeah. What do you think? The chat, is this everything you were hoping for?
Yeah. How's everybody doing? What are we thinking about this game? Anybody? Anybody? Mano, tonight sucked.
Oh, yeah, so the crowd got to watch a The Rock against Rift match, but if you were still following, then don't worry. You get to see a bunch of islands against Brian casting demonic tutor every turn. So that's yes.
Good guys won. I don't know about that.
I really don't know who the hero is between The Rock and Rifter.
Yeah, I feel like Hoyp and I talk about this a lot, and in a lot of matches, The Rock is the proverbial good guy, right? But if you're running red white, Rift or whatever, that is in many ways even more sort of like good guy-ish on so many levels. It's
It
like
kind of is, yeah. Like
there's
I,
no
I I've heard
discard, there's no deep.
Flores on a podcast saying that he thinks it's like a tier one deck, but my bottle of Kirkland sparkling water has won about the same number of events as Rift, so not really sure.
He definitely is going to have something to prove, I think, in this series. So if he gets to play the deck again, right, I think he's really going to be pushing to win. Because yeah, I've heard the same thing. He definitely talks it up. But Flores is, I don't know if you know this, but he's a little hyperbolic about things. So tier one,
I mean, he's created some of the best Magic theory out there.
oh
He's
my god, yeah.
so when he says something like that, I'll listen to it because he's just put together some of the fundamental theory that people to this day rely on.
Oh, absolutely. And he knows how to build a deck. I
Yeah,
mean, he's built decks for lots of pros who've done very, very well.
right. So when he says something like that, my first thought is honestly, I'm probably missing something.
Yeah, yeah.
I I think that the issue that I've always had with The Rock and Rifter and all these other decks is that if your opponent's trying to do something, you don't really have a way to stop it from happening.
I think that you might have just hit the nail on the head. I think that's what I don't like about it too. It's very sort of, with the exception of maybe early duresses, it's very reactionary. Um, and it tries to have
Right.
answers for everything so it can grind out. But when I play decks, I like to either be very, very proactive with some
Hmm.
sort of a fast deck, or I like to have a lot of control over the game.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So you see, I don't know if you saw I don't know if he's
Because
saying like, can you win from here? Like,
BK is gesticulating in a way that I'm interpreting to mean, Tom, you should concede so we can go to bed.
it might be. He's got all four Mox Diamonds in play. He's got two Scroll Racks, two Land Taxes, and a Scylla Cleansing in play. I I think Tom is going to be extremely hard pressed to win this. I love Tom. He's a great player. I'm rooting for him. But
Yeah. Top quality player, but I don't know how anyone can get out from this.
yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to concede, right? I mean, we're not mandating people to
Absolutely.
do it, but
A player is never obligated to concede. I think that's very important. But, you know, I mean, the match isn't giving us a lot to commentate on, right?
all right. It looks like Flint confirmed not good enough at MTG play the wreck. Ah, all right.
Not good enough at
Pretty
MTG.
good, very good. Yeah, that's true. Not. All right, so Tom is going to scoop it up. Um, He says we want to talk it through. Is
I-
Phage legal in this format? Yeah,
Phage is
Phage
legal.
is.
Yeah. I think that Tom's deck could have won this match. It seems like Tom kept a one-lander, missed on opt, and then that just gave BK so much time that there was really nothing left. It is nice that this beverage has won about as many large events as Astral Slide has in this format.
All right. So let's unmute. All right. So I've unmuted Tom. I've unmuted BK. Hey guys, can you hear
we've
us?
unmuted you.
Hey,
Tom, BK.
yeah, I can hear you.
Well, I will say, BK, that I have more respect for your build of this now, having seen it in action. That was pretty good.
thanks. It's you can thank Sam Black. He did most of the work on this one.
You made a believer out of Rich.
Nice.
I still prefer my build, but the mana worked better than I was expecting.
The mana, I don't have a lot of problems with the mana. I don't think. I haven't had a lot of issues with it.
That's good. And Tom, that was rough. That
was horrible.
Right, Tom.
You had a one-lander, opted, missed, and just nothing.
Yeah, we talked about a couple things actually. Well, I made a sequencing error turn one. I'm gonna equate it to me being exhausted. So like I intuitioned, but I should gush first. As soon as I did it, I was like, oh, I did that backwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's okay. But game two, I had like a weird game plan. So the game plan was to, at that point, I was like, okay, I can't, like, I'm not winning through Dreadnought here. It's like turn 40, and he sculpted his hand any way he wants. So
right.
It got to the point where he's like, are you trying to deck me because I can, like, not deck myself out with scroll rack and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I know. My plan's to like have a bunch of counter spells and find my second null rod, counter only your Gaia's blessings, stifle your seal. So we would have been here a while.
Yeah.
So I had pictured the plan in my head.
That's
but
hilarious.
I have a 24-step plan that is foolproof.
Then he was like, did you board out your dreadnoughts? And I was like, yeah, no, but they're my like foil fuel right now.
Yeah.
So like it could have been that way, because I think in my hand, like, I had the stifle, I had a foil, I had a counter spell, I had a bunch of islands at that point because I was saving them for more foils. And I was like, gotta find the second null rod. I can stifle the seal because that's in play already, or I can boomerang it. But I mean, that would have been a long, with no guarantee. So but I think that would have gotten the job done if everything worked out in my favor. But he said he was holding like 3 other nulls, and
yeah, I think it's cool to like that you're when the game gets to that spot, you're like,
he
okay,
would just wait for me to cast that null rod, and then we had a counter war.
Oh, they have me muted. So
You guys, do you still have Mike Hoyt muted?
Whoops.
Oh.
Oh, there's a little.
yeah.
You're missing his typically incisive commentary here, so I just want to make sure that it doesn't fall on deaf
sorry about
ears.
that, Mike.
Oh, I was just saying, I just thought it was cool, like, just from that verbalization of how you're able to kind of, like, really change gears, because obviously that's not what the deck is intending to do, and kind of visualizing a game plan, and I think a lot of players wouldn't be able to do that, and I think that's pretty cool.
I was kind of on you. I did discard Swords of Punches at there. I'm like, I guess we'll
when you did that, I was like, oh shit, he's on to me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it was just like, I don't know, one of those things. I was like, okay, this could be an hour and a half of me winning, and then go to game 3. I was like, that's gonna be rough. But
It's
again,
okay.
no
It's not like
guarantee
BK had played a long match before this.
Well, we did talk about that. I was like, do you want to do 4 hours of Magic?
I was primed. Man, we used to do 10-hour days.
Back in your day.
Yeah, my day.
But we were a lot younger back then.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that showcased too a little bit of like Parfai's like game plan. Like, he can't let Parfait get rack, like land, like, that engine with tax rack is ridiculous. Like, I feel like once it was happening, it's like it's over. Like almost. So
Yeah, I was telling Flint that if Sly had been there, the game would have been over already. I mean, you missed what 3 land drops and just discarded 3 cards, and it's actually almost anything else would have won by then. And the fact that Parfait is still like, well, I have all the cards I want now, but it's not actually won, is speaking to the fact that Parfait is glacial and can't actually really do that very well.
mm,
Even the
Yeah.
Rock might have been able to win by then.
Even the
Well,
Rock.
let's
could
not
have
get
won
too
by
ahead
then.
of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
yeah, Rich. I was like, you can't give the Rock credit.
The opponent's got one
The Rock
island.
is-
Here's my spirit monger. Hope it gets there.
I'm undefeated with the Rock in this this tournament so far.
You're gonna have to remind Flores of that in the group chat.
I mean, the
Losing
one
the
island,
Rock is more embarrassing than banning it, right? We could all agree on that.
Maybe.
wait, but it's gotten banned already. You said right?
No, but Mike's quandary was what's more embarrassing, banning the Rock or losing to the Rock.
Oh, right.
And I
It's
think
gotta
I
be
showed
losing
him
to
that
the
losing
Rock.
to it is in fact more embarrassing.
You might have. You might have.
And I've had all 3 of my decks banned now, so I must be a genius, right?
I've only had one of my decks banned, and I think every opponent's going to ban the same deck. So
I might not.
please don't.
We shall
Let's-
see.
That is also Rich. That is also a legitimate claim to being a genius. So
I won't ban yours if you don't ban mine.
Oh,
Is
no.
yours this girl?
What's that?
Oh, you mean your this girl deck or your Parfait deck?
Yeah, my this girl deck. This girl versus Parfait. It's awesome.
I would definitely play that match.
I would love to see
Yeah,
that
I
match.
know. That's not great. What?
I said I would love to see that match.
So, is the name?
Double aura fracture, baby.
Every time I hear the name, I think, is that from Maid of Bond Street?
I don't. Flores made up that name.
Okay.
I went in around 2012. I went to
I mean,
I gave a list for a blue, red, white angel, lightning angel deck in like time spiral
okay.
standard, and he won state championships with it. And
I think
called
he
it
wrote
This
an
Girl.
article and had
He
it
wrote an
titled-
article
Yeah.
Nice. I
where
mean,
he dubbed it "This Girl."
there's a Bowie song that starts with "This Girl," so I figured it
Oh.
might be from that, but
I don't
I'm
think
not
so.
sure.
It's more like I play this girl, I play this girl, I play this
Fair
girl.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, the morning of LobsterCon, I was excited to tell him I was playing this girl. So that's the name I used.
Awesome. That's
Wait a
really
minute.
fun.
You still have my Hydroblast too. I'm coming to Wisconsin to get that back, BK.
You're gonna hop on a plane, fly to
mean-
Wisconsin, and get your Hydroblast
I
back.
mean, this Hydroblast
Ooh.
should have signed it. I'll mail it to you after the PSS4.
I'm gonna come
You should
visit.
sign it and mail it back.
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
come
visit.
visit?
I'm gonna come visit
no
next
way.
summer. Yeah, I'm
Don't
gonna
mess
visit
with
next
me.
summer.
I do remember talking like the day after because I left earlier at LobsterCon, and I do remember messaging Flint and be like, "Flint, don't forget to get your Hydroblast back from BK."
It's a very pricey card, so you can tell I'm really worried about it.
Yeah,
I
it's not
totally-
even a reprint. That's the original Ice Age, right?
Yeah.
I forgot all about it. All right. Well, that was some stunning magic.
A lot of magic. Yeah.
It was a lot of
Thanks for
magic.
games, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes, good games, good win.
Yeah.
Were you so? How long were you holding lands?
I think for maybe one turn, because that's when
Okay.
it triggered to it hit me where I was like, my game plan's not going to win with the Dreadnought. I need to hopefully mill him and start counting like I mentioned earlier, that game plan that's ticked, and I was like, I probably shouldn't play this island. And then I drew another island. I think I drew 3 islands in a row, and I was just like, all right, well, we'll see what happens.
Not going with a handful of islands, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never want to play against that again. So that ruined my night. That was horrible. It wasn't even because I was stuck on one line. That is, oh my god! Like, I mean, the deck is cool, but that is rough.
That's
if
a
we
good
just get land
recommendation
text
for a
banned,
deck,
we'll have done
right?
our job. What?
That's a good
What's that?
recommendation for a deck. I never want to play against that deck again. It ruined my night. I mean, that's like a very good recommendation for it.
That was, yeah. I played against it a few times. It was just like that was, that was rough.
Did you test against it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that was a little bit of a one-off, like seeing the one island thing, and like I don't know, that was like turn 12 or something, but it kind of played out. It played out rough. Like I was just hoping you didn't play that. Yeah, but that didn't work out well. So
Sweet. Well,
Cool.
if you guys don't have anything left, I guess we'll just kind of wrap up the stream. Thanks for everyone being patient and with at least my issues. But thank you, Rich, for jumping in. I enjoyed just kind of sitting back and listening to you guys. I assume that everyone in the chat enjoyed it as well. But
That's
yeah,
fun.
we have another week of the PSS in the books, and we will be back next week.
It's exhibition time now, right?
Yeah, that was kind of on our plan, but I think we've filled our allotted magic.
You know what the exhibition match was, right?
It was a parfait. I just
Parfait versus Stasis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I guess so that okay, yeah. The decks that everyone really wants.
So
Most
are
people
we
will
not
want to watch
playing
that, I
next
think.
week?
What's that?
Are we not playing next week?
I'm not playing next week.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
having a week off.
Yeah, BK's not, but everybody else is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody else is. I'll be in Door County.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
It's beautiful up there.
All right. Well, I will just move to my ending screen, but just want to thank everyone for tuning in. It seemed like we had a decent showing, and I think things went a little bit smoother than last week. But yeah, so enjoyed watching some kind of unique games of Magic. I mean, I do enjoy the long games, and I think they're interesting, especially when kind of the important parts like become different. Like the original game plan isn't what you need to execute. Like you find different angles to attack. I think that's always really interesting. So
Yeah, I love the angle you took with it.
yeah, like I said, it would
It's
have
a
been
good
like
idea.
a while, but that would have been interesting.
Definitely.
You might have ruined it for everybody. We could have had we had that hour and a half back, whatever it was.
all right. So we will call it a night. But until next time, take care.